From Lorax appearances to insane trash talking, this is everything you might have missed in the last week of the VCT. In the Americas, we saw the final seeding games for playoffs, with 4 teams eliminated. The highlight of this week was LEVIATAN vs NRG, a game with huge importance for both teams, as the winner would clinch the final seed of playoffs, while the loser would be sent home. Everyone expected LEVIATAN to be dominant in this matchup, being considered a far stronger team, and with Demon 1 playing against his former team, there seemed to be much more on the line. But NRG seemed to always be one step ahead of Lev, pulling out a win and qualifying them for playoffs. The other Americas games seemed to be a lot more jovial, as shown by the crowd.
Talk about Lorax? Yeah, that fucker right there.
We saw some chokes, we saw some clutches, and we can finally see the full bracket of playoffs. I'll give you a few shoutouts here too. Shout out to Furia for taking it deep against MIBR, even if they weren't trying their absolute hardest. Shout out to Sentinels for having Ben Affleck join their watch party. And shout out to G2, who played post plant again. All these guys do is play post plant. They lost me as a fan. Loud, 2GE, Furia, and LEVIATAN have all been eliminated from playoffs, with the rest of the teams being placed into the bracket. And before we move on to the Pacific region, I want to play a game that I'm calling Who on Earth Said This? I'll read out a quote from this week's player comms and you'll guess who said it. The quote is, "It's Pujan. Swing him. Let's go, let's go." Was it King, Demon 1, Com, or Rossi? If you guessed Com, you'd be absolutely correct. Over in Pacific, we saw some more teams getting eliminated. We have 2 highlighted games here. First, we saw PaperX pull off the Great Escape, qualifying for playoffs in the final hour. They looked pretty down and out against most teams, and had to face a DFM who had already beaten them this year, but they pulled out a win to send DFM home. Our second highlight was Talon qualifying for playoffs by beating Masters champions T1 in a game that no one was expecting. Talon walked all over T1, giving the champions a real test before Toronto. Throughout the league, we saw NGS qualify for playoffs by beating Zeta, sending them home. We saw Team Secret beating top seed RRQ in a game that was much more about pride than anything tangible. Zeta, Team Secret, DFM, and Global Esports have all been sent home, with the remaining teams in the playoffs ready to qualify for Masters Toronto. Before we move on, I've got another game we can play. Which of these teams has not lost to DFM in an official tournament? Now, this is only counting official games, including kickoff and lock-in tournaments, and these are your options: Global Esports, PaperX, T1, Zeta, or Bleed Esports. And if you guessed Bleed, you'd be right. Every other team has registered a loss to DFM at some point. Now to China, where playoffs have not only begun, but have exploded. The surprise of the round was undoubtedly XLG beating EDG to send them to lowers. Raga had a series to remember, as he utterly dominated the best team in China, as XLG have ascended from a tier 2 team to Masters in just 6 months. Truly remarkable achievement. Wolves also had an upset win against Bilibili as they booked their slot to Toronto. Juicy had a great series, who was finally getting rewarded for his excellent few years in tier 2. He was too young to go up with Bleed, battled it out in tier 2 again with Disguised, and is now getting international experience in his first season. But as the lower bracket teams couldn't muster any more strength, both Bilibili and EDG have made their way through the bracket and are both now 1 game away from Toronto, facing each other this week. And for my next game, you will be playing Guess the Clip. I'll show you a clip from this week, blurred teams, comms, and cams, and you'll guess who pulled it off.
Maybe a bit of a sigh of relief though, but aggression here.
Oh, a cheeky little tiles crunch. Oh, looking for the...
Now was this Demon 1, Havoc, Texture, or Oxy? And if you guessed Oxy, you'd be wrong, it was Havoc. And finally in EMEA, while there's still 1 week of matches left, every playoff team is locked in. Across the board, every team pretty much beat who they were expected to beat. I'll give props to Giant X, who looked much better with new signings Aura and Flickless. I also wanted to point out how dominant Team Heretics are looking right now. They seriously are ruthless. They'll be a real problem for any team in the world, so check them out at Masters, probably. With still a week left of play, Gentlemates, Apex, Giant X, and Koi are all eliminated from playoffs, with the rest of the teams seeding yet to be decided. Group Alpha is looking pretty scary though, with a lot of promising teams coming out of a hyper-competitive group. Finally, I wanted to do some brief predictions to come back to in a few weeks' time, when I'm proven correct. EDG will qualify over Bilibili, Heretics and Fnatic qualify in the first 2 slots, while Vitality takes the third. Boom and DRX qualify in the first round, and Paper X make a run through lowers, and G2 and MIBR qualify, with Cloud9 qualifying in the lower bracket. That's right, Zeppa Masterclass incoming. So stay tuned for next week to see if I'm wrong, but I'll be right. Catch you later.